Here's something that might keep you up at night. The average American heading into retirement has less than $90,000 saved. Not $900,000. $90,000. And a huge chunk of that gap, the difference between retiring comfortably and working into your 70s, was decided in a single decade. Not your 20s. Not your 30s. Your 40s. I'm going to show you exactly why that's true, and more importantly, what you can do about it right now. Because if you're in your 40s, or approaching them, you are sitting in the most consequential financial window of your entire life. And most people have no idea. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why your 40s decide your retirement fate, and what small changes, made right now, can literally 4x your future wealth. Let's get into it. Here's the thing most people miss. Every decade of your life has a financial superpower. Your 20s have time but not much money. Your 50s have urgency but less runway. But your 40s? Your 40s have both, and they add a third ingredient that makes this decade unlike any other. Number 1. Peak earning power. Most people hit their highest income window somewhere between 40 and 55. You've got the experience, the seniority, the track record. You finally have the leverage to negotiate. This is the decade when the paychecks are the biggest they've ever been. But here's the problem. It's also the decade when the temptations are the biggest they've ever been. And we'll come back to that. Number 2. Compounding time that still matters. Let me prove it with math, because the numbers here are genuinely jaw-dropping. If you invest $10,000 at age 40 and earn a 7% average annual return, which is a reasonable long-term stock market expectation, by the time you're 65, that $10,000 grows to roughly $54,000. Now imagine you wait just 10 years. You invest that same $10,000 at age 50, same 7% return. By 65, you end up with around $27,000. Same money. Same return. 1 decade of delay cuts your outcome almost in half. And here's the flip side of that math that people forget. You still have 20 to 25 years for money to work. At 7%, money roughly doubles every 10 years. That means $1 invested today in your early 40s could quadruple by the time you retire. That's not a typo. That's compounding, and it is the closest thing to a financial superpower that actually exists. But that window is closing, and it closes faster than you think. Number 3, the expense stabilization window. Here's where it gets really interesting and really dangerous. In your 40s, some of the big financial drains start easing up. Maybe the mortgage feels more manageable than it did 5 years ago. Daycare is behind you. The financial chaos of your 30s is settling down. You finally feel like you're getting ahead. And that feeling, that breathing room, that is exactly when lifestyle inflation strikes hardest. Because most people don't redirect that extra breathing room into wealth. They upgrade it away. Bigger house in a better neighborhood. Newer car because you've earned it. More expensive holidays because life is short. And every one of those upgrades feels completely justified in the moment. Because you worked hard, you're doing well, and you deserve it. But here's the brutal truth. Your neighbors in their 20s and 30s had time but low income. They couldn't afford to make the big mistakes. Your peers in their 50s and 60s can still save, but they need to put away dramatically more each year to catch up. And every year matters less because compounding has so little runway left. Your 40s are the sweet spot where high income meets meaningful compounding time. It is the decade that builds, or breaks, your retirement. And most people sleepwalk right through it. I want you to imagine 2 brothers. Let's call them David and Michael. Same hometown. Same university. Same starting salary at 25. By the time they're both 42, they're each earning $130,000 a year. Same careers, same trajectory, same everything. On paper, these 2 men are identical. But here's where their stories split. David gets a raise at 43, $15,000 more a year. And instead of thinking about what he can buy with it, he asks one question. Where does this go to do the most work? He bumps his 401k contribution. He makes an extra payment on the mortgage. He opens a taxable brokerage account and sets up an automatic monthly investment. His lifestyle doesn't really change. His car is 3 years old. His house is the same house. His neighbors think he's a little boring, honestly. But David sleeps well. Michael gets the same raise. And he and his wife sit down and decide they've earned this. They've been grinding for 20 years. It's time. So they upgrade to a bigger house in a better school district, because the kids deserve that. They lease a new SUV, because they're at a stage in life where image matters professionally. They enroll the kids in private school, because they want the absolute best for them. And every single one of those decisions makes complete sense. They're good parents. They're ambitious. They're living the life they worked for. Fast forward 2.5 decades. David retires at 67 with just over $2.1 million in invested assets. He and his wife travel. He helps his kids with down payments on their first homes. He picks up woodworking. He has options, real, meaningful options, about how he spends every single day for the rest of his life. Michael is still working at 69. Not because he wants to. Because he has to. His retirement account holds about $340,000. The house appreciated nicely, but it's not liquid. He can't live in an asset. The kids went to wonderful schools and turned out great, but Michael can't stop working. The lifestyle that felt like success in his 40s became a cage he couldn't see until the door had already closed. Same income. Same opportunities. Same starting line. Two completely different endings. Built one decision at a time, across one decade. Now I want you to sit with this for a second, because this isn't a story about two fictional brothers. This is a story playing out in real time in neighborhoods all over the world. And the question I want you to ask yourself, honestly, not defensively, is this: which brother does your financial life look like right now? Because the answer to that question is the whole reason you're watching this video. So we've established why the 40s matter so much. Now let's get specific. Because the gap between David and Michael wasn't created by one giant catastrophic mistake. It was created by 5 categories of decisions. Decisions that feel completely normal, completely justified, and completely reasonable in the moment. Let's go through each one. Decision 1. The housing upgrade trap. This is the single biggest wealth killer in your 40s. And it is hiding in plain sight because it feels like the smartest thing you could possibly do. Real estate is an investment, right? Equity builds wealth, right? A better neighborhood means better schools and better resale value, right? All of that can be true. And it can still destroy your retirement. Here's what actually happens when you upsize in your 40s. You take on a larger mortgage at a time when you should be aggressively paying one down. Your property taxes go up. Your insurance goes up. Your maintenance costs go up. And the extra capital you pour into that bigger home, capital that could have been invested, sits locked in a liquid asset you can't touch without selling the house. Now let's put a number on it. Say you upsize to a home that costs $250,000 more than you actually need. Finance that over 30 years, factor in the additional carrying costs, and then calculate the investment returns you gave up on that capital, at a conservative 7% over 20 years. You're looking at somewhere between $600,000 and $1 million in lost retirement wealth. Not because you did something reckless. Because you bought a slightly bigger house. What to do instead? Stay put longer than feels comfortable. If you genuinely need to move, different city, growing family, real practical need, buy for function, not for how it looks next to your colleagues' homes. Your retirement account will quietly thank you every single year. Decision 2. The vehicle drain. This one is faster to explain but just as damaging. A $70,000 luxury vehicle financed in your mid-40s isn't just a car payment. It is a direct transfer of wealth from your future self to a depreciating asset that will be worth a fraction of its purchase price within 5 years. Here's the math. That $70,000, invested at 7% from age 44, becomes roughly $270,000 by the time you're 65. You didn't just buy a car. You spent $270,000 of retirement money on a car. And if you do it again at 49, because the lease ends and you get another one, you've done it twice. What to do instead? Buy a reliable 3-year-old car outright, or finance something modest. The difference in your daily life between a $25,000 practical car and a $70,000 luxury car is far smaller than it feels in the showroom. The difference to your retirement account is enormous. Drive the boring car. Build the extraordinary retirement. Decision 3. Children's education. I want to handle this one carefully, because it is the most emotionally loaded decision on this list. Every parent watching this wants the absolute best for their kids. That instinct is beautiful. But let's be honest about what the numbers actually look like. Private school tuition can run anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000 per child per year. For 2 kids, across 12 years of schooling, you're potentially looking at $500,000 to over $1 million. After tax money that could have been compounding in your retirement account this entire time. And that's before we even get to private university. Here is the truth that the private school industry will never put in their brochure. A motivated, curious, disciplined child at a well-funded public school will almost always outperform a passively enrolled child at an expensive private institution. What drives outcomes for kids is not the name above the door. It is the habits, values, and work ethic modeled at home, and that's free. What to do instead? Invest heavily in your child's character, curiosity, and discipline. Be present. Read with them. Talk about the world with them. If private school is genuinely the right fit and you can afford it without raiding your retirement, go for it. But do not sacrifice your financial security on the altar of an educational brand name. And remember this, you cannot retire on love, but your kids can apply for financial aid. Decision 4. Career complacency. Here's the one nobody talks about, because it doesn't feel like a spending decision. But it absolutely is. Your 40s are your peak earning window, but only if you actively show up for them. And what I see far too often is that people reach a comfortable income level in their early 40s and they stop pushing. They stop negotiating. They stop upskilling. They take the safe path inside a company that stopped promoting them years ago, because change feels risky and comfortable feels fine. But every dollar of income you leave on the table during your peak earning years has a compounding cost attached to it. A $20,000 raise you didn't ask for, invested over 20 years at 7%, is nearly $80,000 in retirement wealth from one conversation you didn't have. What to do instead? Treat your career as an asset that requires active management. Negotiate every raise. Build skills that increase your market value, not just internally but externally, so you have real leverage. Consider a side income stream that you can invest entirely. This is the decade to aggressively grow the top line, not just carefully manage the bottom line. Decision 5. Lifestyle inflation and social comparison. And here's the quiet one. The one that doesn't show up as a single line item anywhere, but slowly, silently consumes everything. You get a raise. Your peer group gets raises. Everyone quietly upgrades their reference point for what normal looks like. The holidays get a little more expensive. The restaurants get a little nicer. The wardrobe refreshes a little more often. The gadgets get replaced a little sooner. None of it feels extravagant. All of it feels earned. And year by year, your cost of living rises in perfect lockstep with your income, leaving nothing extra, nothing to invest, nothing building toward the future. Research consistently shows that beyond a certain income level, lifestyle upgrades produce almost no lasting increase in day-to-day happiness. The new car feels extraordinary for about 3 months. The bigger house feels special for maybe 6. Then it just becomes normal, your new baseline, and the hedonic treadmill starts running again. But here's what doesn't reset to baseline: your retirement account balance. That keeps compounding quietly in the background, indifferent to what your neighbors drive. What to do instead? Every time your income increases, automate a savings increase before the lifestyle creep can get to it. Set it up so that a percentage of every raise goes straight into investments before it ever touches your current account. If you never see it, you never spend it. Treat every raise as wealth fuel first, lifestyle upgrade second. That one habit, practiced consistently across your 40s, is worth more than almost any other financial decision you will make. All right. You've heard the thesis. You've met the 2 brothers. You've seen the 5 decisions. Now let's make this practical, because information without action is just entertainment. Here is exactly what to do with what you've just learned. First, get serious about your savings rate. The benchmark worth aiming for is 15% or more of your gross income going into retirement accounts every single month. Not net income. Gross. And if you're not there yet, that's okay, but you need a plan to get there, and you need it now, not next year. Start by maxing out your 401k contributions if you can. At minimum, capture every single dollar of your employer match. I cannot stress this enough. An employer match is a 50% to 100% instant return on your money before the market does anything. Not using it fully is the equivalent of turning down a pay rise. Nobody does that. Second, Know your milestone numbers. Here is a simple, honest benchmark to measure yourself against. By age 40, the goal is to have roughly 3 times your annual salary saved and invested. By age 50, roughly 6 times. By 60, closer to 8 times. These are Fidelity's widely used retirement savings guidelines, and while everyone's situation is different, they give you a real number to aim at rather than a vague sense that you're probably doing okay. Pull up your retirement account balance right now, after this video. Compare it to the benchmark. If you're behind, that's not a reason to despair, it's a reason to act. And the action starts today, not someday. Third, automate everything you possibly can. Willpower is not a retirement strategy. Every time you have to make a conscious decision about whether to invest this month's extra money or spend it, you are introducing a point of failure. Remove the decision entirely. Set up automatic contribution increases tied to your annual review cycle. Set up automatic transfers to your brokerage on the day your salary hits. Make investing the default, effortless behavior, and make spending the thing that requires deliberate effort. This single structural change does more for long-term wealth building than almost any amount of financial knowledge, because it removes human nature from the equation. Fourth, apply the retirement cost lens before every major purchase. Before you sign anything significant, a new mortgage, a car finance agreement, a private school contract, a luxury holiday on credit, pause and ask one question. What does this decision actually cost me in retirement wealth? Not just the sticker price. The compounding cost. A $50,000 decision made at 43 isn't a $50,000 decision. At 7% over 20 years, it's closer to a $200,000 decision. That reframe alone, just pausing to run that number, will change how you see every major spend for the rest of your life. And finally, I want to leave you with one question to sit with. Not a checklist item. Not a spreadsheet. Just a question. What is the one decision, the single decision, that you could make in the next 12 months that would most meaningfully change your retirement outcome? Maybe it's finally maxing your 401k. Maybe it's not upsizing the house. Maybe it's having a hard conversation about private school costs. Maybe it's asking for the raise you've been putting off for 2 years. Whatever it is, write it down. Right now, after this video. Because the people who retire with real freedom didn't do 40 things perfectly. They identified the 1 or 2 decisions that moved the needle most, and they made those decisions with clarity and intention. That's what this decade asks of you. So let me bring this home. Your 40s are not just another decade on the calendar. They are the compounding window, the one stretch of your financial life where peak income, meaningful time, and stabilizing expenses all line up at once. That combination only comes around once. And what you do with it, the housing decisions, the car decisions, the career decisions, the quiet daily choices about lifestyle and saving, those decisions are writing your retirement story right now, whether you're paying attention or not. The gap between David and Michael wasn't talent. It wasn't luck. It wasn't even income. It was awareness and the willingness to act on it. Here's what I want you to hold on to. You still have time. If you're in your 40s, or approaching them, the window is open. Not wide open forever, but open. The people who retire with real options, real freedom, real peace of mind didn't stumble into it. They woke up to exactly what you're waking up to right now, in this moment, and they decided that their future self was worth fighting for. That's all this is. A decision to fight for your future self. Starting today. Not next month when things settle down. Not after the holidays. Not when the kids are older. Today. If this video hit home for you, do me a favor and hit the like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people who need to hear this message. Subscribe if you haven't already, because this is exactly the kind of content we make here. And drop a comment below with the words 40s wake up, and tell me one specific change you're committing to after watching this. I read every single comment, and I mean that. Thank you for spending this time with me. Now go do something with it. I'll see you in the next one.